It's our pleasure to invite Jenna Hills, and she's very interested in Asian cultures, and she's been in Asia for 3 years, and she wants to know about filial piety, and in Chinese it's called 孝道, 孝顺. So I guess that's a very different morality, or yeah, would you say that? It's almost unique in Asian cultures.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks. In Western cultures, we don't really have this concept of filial piety. It's, I mean, there is something about respecting your elders and that sort of thing, but it seems that the younger like generations don't do it as much as the older generations have done, and it seems that our culture is getting more and more, going more and more towards not respecting elder people or what they say, and there's definitely not this concept of, you know, it's so much ingrained in you that this is a way that you should act, this is your responsibilities to people, and you need to do what your parents tell you to do. So I'm just curious, you know, how Taiwanese people see Western people in regards to this, because we don't have filial piety. So for them, I mean, you guys must see it much differently.
Exactly. Like my son calls me Tony, right? And most kids in the Western world would call their parents by names, right?
I guess it depends on the person. Maybe like younger generation, I would call my parents like mom or dad, but the younger generations, yes, they'll just call it by their name. Yeah.
It's not very offensive.
No.
It's not offensive to say, okay, if your mom is Mary, you say, hey, Mary, and, you know. It's especially in public places, and right?
When you're older, it's more acceptable.
Right. The fact that actually Western people are more individualistic and independent is because they actually place a lot of values on human rights, and you as a human being independent from your parents' old thoughts, and that actually involves a lot of rebellion and personal journeys. And what I find is that here, because a lot of the children have to sort of live with their parents, and it's hard for them to be independent and to be outside of the family, re-evaluating who they are. So I think it's a big problem. Like I see a lot of the politicians or even scholars who've got master's degree or doctorate, they still act like children, you know. They still talk like children. They still look up to their parents for approval, and I think that's very sad.
I think in a lot of situations too, you know, whatever your parents say is what you do. You don't really question it. For a Western person, if like they said, no, you have to stay home and study and you're not allowed to go out, and you were 17 years old or 18 years old even, you would say, well, I'm going out, I have a car, I can do what I want, you know. Or if you're older, maybe your parents don't like someone you're dating, then you might say, well, I like them, so you're just going to have to live with that. But in Asian society, if your parents don't like that person, it's kind of like cut the ties right away.
Right. And a lot of the kids, children here, are afraid to be cut the ties, because they're not economically independent, and without the ties with the family, because the family actually support, you know, all the way through, you know, college a lot of times. And now a lot of the students do have student loans, and they are learning to be more independent. But filial piety, if you know this, it comes from Confucianism. This philosopher like 3,000 years ago that actually It's all about being respectful to your parents and the emperors and your older brothers and all that. And I think the reason why, say, Western societies, like the say Italy, like I've been to Milan, I see young people treat elderly people like shit, actually, if they are not wealthy. You know, so it's all about having a social status. If you're not rich, you're just like, you know, nobody. And I guess filial piety does serve, you know, a reason, you know, in Asian societies. But I think it's becoming outdated. I think Western people, because of individual independence, that's why they, you know, they love heroes. I think we don't love heroes as much. If you speak too much, if you're too outspoken and independent, you're actually sort of looked down upon it a little bit, you know. Yeah. Do you find that true?
Yeah, I mean, we gravitate towards people who have their own opinions, that are individualistic. Western people tend to love people like that. Is somebody who has a say in their own life.
Like and fight for themselves.
Right, exactly. And while we do, you know, Western people do still value respect. And it depends on where you're from, too. But where I was raised, you know, we really value respect. Everything is supposed to be done a certain way. And I was raised to greet elderly people in a certain way. But it's not the same. It's still like quite a far divide from what filial piety is like here.
I think it's totally different because in LA, I worked with older people a lot. We were equal. You know, we're evaluated by, say, our efficiency and our capabilities, and like I do, as a Taiwanese person, I wouldn't say I would be completely unbiased, but I do respect elderly people more. I think my Western, like American younger colleagues do see older people as more useless. Like I felt it. Like my, you know, like colleagues my age would see older people as you know, they are sort of just you know, useless. Yeah. Do you feel that way?
I think a lot of Western people do kind of feel that because the age of stopping to work is 65. So once you're 65, we call it like over the hill and you're done, and like your opinions, they should be valued at that point in time because you're so much older and you have so much experience. But we feel like our culture has changed so much in such a little period of time that what it was 20 years ago isn't what it is now. So it's really difficult a lot of people feel it's really difficult to listen to what older people have to say.
Right, and especially when they don't have social status.
Right.
Say if I'm a loan processor working in a bank and my colleague is a 52-year-old processor.
Yeah.
Then he's sort of like a loser.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Right. That's right.
But if he's like a director or executive, then he's much more respected. So in Western societies, I think what social status and success you've accumulated is more important than your age. Per se.
Yes, I would say so.
Would you say that?
Yeah.
Okay. So does that make you understand more filial piety a little bit?
I understand filial piety. I just I'm interested.
We are rebelling against that
yes.
right now.
Yes.
We're rebelling against that a little bit. I'm pretty sure the parents will be shocked.
Oh gosh.
If they understand.
I hope that no Taiwanese parents see me on
I'll
here.
just don't put captions on. All right?
Good idea.
Okay.